So in this video, we're actually going to take a look at how we generate the graph that we see right here in green for the f of x function. And we're also going to take a look at some hidden options that we see over here as well. In using this construction, the algebra window is going to be something that you will actually use during the creation to name all of your different components. And then some of these components will be visible over here. Others are going to be used as kind of backups to help generate the interactivity that we need for the entire project. In particular, we're going to review how to actually create numbers in particular, because what we actually do is use the guess value as the number that we see right here in guess. And then we also use xval as a number for what we see over here in the x value input box. All of that might seem a little complicated right now, but we're going to take this step by step. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to see how do we actually create this f of x component so that we get a nice curve. So taking a look at what our current window looks like, it's blank, but we can see down here there's an input bar. If you don't have the input bar, what you can do is just go up here to where you see View and make sure that your input bar has a check mark next to it. Inside of the input bar, you can type functions using standard mathematical notation. Most functions start with a lowercase letter, in this case f, and then they put in parentheses the variable that's going to be used, in this case x. And then they say equal and then the rule of the function. For our example right now, we're going to start with the most basic of functions where it just says x. And you can see that when I press enter, I get a function that's green right here, and it labels it f right here. In the algebra window, you can see the algebraic representation. So there's a side-by-side comparison of both the algebraic representation and the graphical representation. If you want to change how the graph looks, you can always come over here to the algebra window and right-click and go to Object Properties. Moving this out of the way so that we can see the changes as we make them. The name is going to be what you actually call the function, and then the definition is how you can change the shape. If you would like to make it an x squared function, you can just put the caret symbol with a 2 and press enter, and you can see that the shape of the function changes. If you don't like the name of the function being displayed in the graphics view right here where it says f, you can also come over here and change it to show the name and value. You could also have it show a caption, where the caption is whatever you decide to type right here, regardless of what the name or value is. We'll use that a little bit later on. The main features that I use most often are going to be the color and style tabs. So in the color tab, this is where you can select any of your colors that you'd like to use, and you can see that it keeps track of these colors over here in your recent tab. Under styles, you could adjust the line thickness. And what I usually do is represent functions as green, and then I make the style usually somewhere between 7 and 9, just so that it stands out against the font. And when you take a look at it, you can see that if you come down here and redefine what f of x is, to say maybe you want x cubed, it doesn't change the style of the function, only updating the value of it. The last thing that we need to review before we move into the next part of our lesson is how we actually create numbers. In GeoGebra, it's very important that you understand the idea between numbers and coordinate points. Most coordinate points are going to be single capital letters, but there are commands that you can use if you don't use capital letters. Numbers are usually lowercase, or they're entire words that are lowercase. So in this case, we created an xval number, and we picked a number just to start it off with at 0. Now what's interesting to note is that in the algebra window you can see the value, but the fact that there's a dot that's white means that there's no way for GeoGebra to figure out what that would look like over here in the graphics view. The other additional thing that we're going to go ahead and set up is a guess value as well. And I'm going to set that to be 0 as well. You can tell that they're numbers because in the algebra view it will say that they are numbers. And then the other thing that you can do if you need to is also see that this little blue dot can be toggled to hide functions whenever you need to focus on maybe one function at a time if you have multiple plots. That concludes this particular component of the lesson. As we're moving forward, we're going to look at how we can build other components using these numbers, and then we'll start looking at how to build in the interactivity.